See. Hey, Ed, can you hear me?
I did.
Oh my God. Jeez. Jesus Christ.
Hey, you got two of us.
No, man, it's like everyone meet me down in the lobby.
Which
Uh,
lobby?
man, I cannot believe it. Oh, I worked on this all day, making improvements on it, and um, and I screwed up. I didn't realize that it lost connection to my microphone. It never gave me that message. So, well, let's do a show.
Ed's looking for you.
I'm here.
Yeah, Ed's there, and we in the
Fran and
background.
Lee are still MIA.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we get. I've sent a message to them on Facebook. Um,
Jump on, everybody.
Everyone's seen it, but you lose people when you screw up. Now, I need to tell him, Lee, try again.
I just sent a message on the messenger to see if everybody will see it.
Yeah. I do better than this. Jesus.
You did great.
Yeah, well, this one has not gone well. So it's funny because every week I learned something. And I've learned something definitely this week. So, come on. What are we going to do? I'm going to, let me, I don't know.
Send him a message.
I don't know what to do with Lee because he's not on Facebook.
Did he get a message from you or an email?
He got an email, and I've been texting him.
Then text him.
Yeah, I did.
The funny thing is that you can actually leave the studio and then hit the back button on your browser, and it'll put you back in the studio.
Yeah, that's true. But what happened when I ended the broadcast? It right now we're only on YouTube, so so I actually want to go to Facebook. I want to add Facebook into this, and okay, Fran is in. Fran, you made it. Fran made it. All right. So now I'm waiting for Bob Berg. So Robert. So and I got other people writing to me from other episodes, future episodes, going WTF.
Tell me it's your fault.
I'll tell them it's the internet.
Yeah.
The internet failed.
Best one going.
Yeah, but I hate doing that, and I'm going to do.
Class of '75. There's nothing we can't break.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, everybody can who's watching on Facebook is hearing us.
How do we get rid of the echo?
Headphones.
You have to have headphones.
Oh, now you tell me.
I did tell you long ago.
How you doing, Fran?
Lee, are you there?
Oh.
Lee.
Oh, that's better.
Oh, I know what's happening. Hold on, Lee. Oh, we got you. Okay. Lee, I can bring you in via the roadcaster.
Okay.
I think, can you guys hear him?
Not yet.
Lee, you can get back in.
Oh, there I am.
All
There you
right.
are.
Robert Berg's here. So Lee, if you you're on phone right now, and if you close the session you're in and you click, if you close your browser and you click on the one that I just sent you, you should be able to come forward because I now have Robert, I have Fran, Ed, and Kathy on. So
So you sent me another link, Glenn?
yeah, I'll send it to you again. Just hold on. Hold on. Hang on the phone. I will send it to you again. Don't go away. I am no stranger to this crap. So I do this a million times a day. All right, Lee, this is the new link. All right. I sent it to your text.
Oh, okay.
All right, so if you just copy and paste that, you should be fine. Yeah. All right. If you guys be patient who are online, you can hear me. I'm gonna edit this all out in post edit. So when we go to YouTube, when it's on YouTube, you won't recognize all this crap. But the people who are watching it live are probably going, "What the hell?" Well, actually, it's no, it should be okay. Going there. So Lee, I'm just waiting for you. You, what's happening? What did it say?
It says this site can't ask for your permission.
Oh,
Close any bubble overlays, other apps, and try again.
oh man, I don't know what that error is. I haven't seen that. Lee,
Yes.
oh, how are we gonna do this? Let me try something. Let me call you back in 1 second. All right. All right, people online, if you just be patient. I appreciate your patience. I've already eaten up 20 minutes of your time. I just want to cut off. I was broadcasting music before, and I want to make sure the music's not broadcasting. Okay,
No.
it's not. So I should be able to bring Lee in through this through phone, and I'm going. This is called 40 years of computers. So when anything can go wrong, it will. All right. So
And I'll be honest, Glenn, I thought I was going to have problems tonight.
yeah. Lee, are you
Hello?
there? Lee.
Here, yes.
Okay. Robert, can you hear Lee?
I can hear Lee.
Here we are.
All right,
Can you see
Lee.
me now?
We don't see you, but we hear you.
Okay. Well, I got you on my phone, but I can see you on my computer.
Okay. So let's take it as it is. Okay?
Sure.
All right. This is crazy. All right. If we had started correctly, this is how I would have opened. Welcome to episode 4 of my little experiment called Getting to Know You. Tonight's panel graduated in 1975 and share the fact that we all grew up in Wantagh, New York and attended the same high school. Back then, we were known more for what we didn't have in common, but 46 years later, I believe we share a lot in common now. and even back then. The goal of this show is to talk a little about then and understand the trajectory our lives have taken since we graduated. The show is not that long, but we should be able to get through all my questions. I will remind the panel you have to mute. So, Lee, you have to mute. Everyone needs to mute. Oh, there we go. Unmute when you need to. Feel free to respond to other people. When they say something that interests you, just unmute yourself and then remute. We will be taking some questions from live audience, which is actually, they are coming. People are asking questions. Anyway, I will show that in a minute. This is live. It'll be available on YouTube unless I take it down for some reason. So don't give away any state secrets. Don't say anything you don't want somebody to not know about you. That's what happened in episode 3. So I edited episode 3 and it will return in a couple of days. Finally, there are no politics. We're not talking politics at all. So, so tonight's guests are Kathy Bolts, who goes by a new name. Chris Plate was supposed to be here. He's not here. Wait a second. I think we can get Lee on here. Lee, you can hang up your phone. Okay. So, we have Robert Berg, we have Fran Miller, Ed Hoey, and Lee Callett. And let me get to the page that's pretty funny, where we get to, I work on these pictures, showing people. You guys are in the background. Robert is over my shoulder, so you can see him. So I can move you guys around. I can move you all over the place. I can do that. And then you can see the screen. We lost somebody. We lost Fran. Oh, I know why. Because Fran is using an iPad, I bet. Okay, so the first one I'd like to ask, my first question is, how did you end up in Wantagh, and where did you go to grade school? Because 3 of us, I know we went to grade school together. So that's for sure. So Fran is coming back on. So Fran, just make sure you go on mute. Fran, are you on an iPad still?
No.
Okay, you went off for a second. Anyway, so let's start with Ed. How did your family end up in Wantagh? And what elementary school did you go to? And just, that part of your life. How did you end up in Wantagh?
My family always lived here. And so I went to Forest Lake Kindergarten. Mrs. Mangum is my kindergarten teacher. And then St. Francis de Chantal grade school. I did 9th grade at Chaminade, and then came into Wantagh High School for 10th grade. So, yeah, it's pretty straight line.
Cool, but when you say your family lived there, are they one of the original Wantagh long-term lived in the 30s? Or
oh, no. Mom and Dad were from, let's say, Richmond Hill, Queens, and Ridgewood, which is Brooklyn or Queens, depending on where you are.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So they grew up there, and then of course my grandparents stayed there. So that's where we went and did Sunday dinners, and all of that in the city.
Yeah. Yeah. So your parents moved out in the 50s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. There's only a couple of us who went to grade school together. So it's like, I remember you, Ed, from high school. That's where I remember you coming in. you know, so I really don't know, you know, where you came from. So that's it. Now
Well, once I got to high school, I met Fran, and the rest was history.
yes, yes, Fran has, yes. We'll get to Fran in a minute. So the person that I know the best on this panel, although I knew Lee's father the best, which I'll explain when Lee comes up. But Kathy Bolts, the first woman girl I ever kissed, and we were going to get married in 4th grade or 3rd grade, whatever it was, something like that. So take yourself off mute, Kathy. So you went to Wantagh Beach Street School, but how did you and your mom and sister end up in Wantagh? Your family end up in Wantagh, and
Well, we bought a very old house on Taft Street. I was 2 houses up from Carl Cassiana. I can't remember his last name.
Carl.
Yep, and Bruce Sparks. And I ended up going to Beach Street. My other next door neighbor was Linda Hayes.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember visiting you at your house and being able to ride my bike there, and you had a fun block. You had bob fitting on one end of the street. And there were a lot of people, and Carl and I played drums. So I used to go to his house to play drums.
I remember that.
Yeah. So, okay, Lee, we'll go to you next. So
Great.
I know Lee's father very, very well from my first six, maybe 7 years. It depends on how bad of a kid I was in elementary school. And I actually, I was driving around today and I remember your mom as well. Did your mom substitute or?
She did.
Wow. So I remember
And
that. So Lee, tell us how you ended up in Wantagh, how your parents ended up in Wantagh, where they came from.
well, we were originally upstate New Yorkers. Mom and Dad were both raised in Buffalo. I was born in Cooperstown. My sister was born in Watertown. And I was probably about 2 or 3 years old when my dad took a job as the school principal in Wantagh. So we moved to Wantagh probably the late 50s, maybe 59 or 60, and moved into James Road, short distance from the Wantagh Elementary School on Beach Street, where I had the dubious distinction of going to the elementary school where my dad was the principal.
Yeah.
And there were days when my mother was a substitute teacher.
Yeah.
My own substitute teacher. So that was like a real nightmare.
She filled in. Yeah, I remember. And Mr. Smith was the assistant principal, and he went to Forest Lake. So
right.
Maybe Robert remembers him from Forest Lake as the assistant principal, or as the principal. He went there as principal, I think he went.
He did. He was the assistant principal on Beach Street, and then he took the job as the principal there.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I knew all of these people fairly well because they were my mom and dad's friends.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to get ahead of things here, but there were times when they would have parties at the house, and I would be the bartender making all of their drinks.
Oh man, no, don't jump ahead. No, that's a good story. So we're going to you, Fran. Put those earbuds in. So Fran, tell us how you ended up in Wantagh, how your family ended up in Wantagh and elementary. You went to you did go to Beach
I went to
Street.
Beach Street.
Yeah.
We were in kindergarten together.
Yes. Yeah.
My parents moved from Richmond Hill area as well. And these earphones are making me crazy.
Sorry.
They moved to Wantagh when I was 4. And first day I met Nancy Bellis across the street. We lived off on Tulip Lane off of Jerusalem, right across from the theater. And there was an entire neighborhood of kids there. And at 4 years old, you could run around and hang out. I can't imagine my granddaughter doing that now. But I took the bus to Beach Street. Loved school then. It was fun. Had great teachers, Mrs. Bonder. First grade, I'm still in touch with her on Facebook, which is pretty cool.
That is amazing.
It is.
She I do see her online. Oh, we lost her. I know I'm going to tell her what's happening when she comes back on. So we'll wait. We'll just move on. But Robert, so you're Forest Lake?
Well, I went to Forest Lake. I went to Forest Lake. I got a full feedback here.
Everybody needs to mute. Go ahead.
Okay.
I don't know why it keeps going out.
Fran, we moved on to Robert. We'll come back to you. All right, go ahead, Robert.
Okay, I went to Forest Lake kindergarten, and then wanted to develop. They were very progressive on busing. So, because the schools were overcrowded, elementary school, my house was the first house dividing line, and I went to Sunrise Park, and my sister went to Beach Street, and my parents were not sophisticated enough to argue about it, and they claimed that this claim dividing line was the middle of our front door. We missed right into going to Forest Lake. So it was ridiculous. But we had a very good crew at Central Park. It was a lot of fun.
Wow, that's interesting. What was your street again?
Holiday Park.
Oh, Holiday Park. I thought all Holiday Park people went to Forest Lake.
No, it literally stopped at 1336 was the divide.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, Fran, I have a question. So you're using a laptop, but is it plugged in? Fran.
Yeah, Glenn, it is.
All right, just making sure, because
it just keeps going out.
Yeah, this program is very very intensive on.
Yeah, you said that.
So, so, Fran, I just want you to know that you and I were in kindergarten together, but the woman I actually married to now was in the room across from us.
I know.
Yeah, Mrs. Weaver's class, and then Fran is the only one amongst you who's been actually, out here to my house on the water.
Sure have.
Yeah, I have a Worlds Collide party until the pandemic, where I invite people from my childhood and all parts of my life. And actually, we had about 150 at our last party, and
that was fun.
And it was fun. You came with a friend, and it was nice. So,
well, we need to do that again with Wantagh people.
Yeah, well,
we had a few there, but not many.
They call that a reunion.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, there were actually Wantagh people. There were probably about 14 people there.
Yeah, I met them.
Yeah.
This year I'm bringing champagne, remember?
Yeah. So, anyhow, so my next question is, so Ed said he knew Fran. So did any of you, were you friends with one another at all?
We were drinking buddies.
You were drinking buddies, but so, and Lee was mixing drinks for the teachers that we all had. Mrs. Weber, I could see Mrs. Weber, taking a drop or two. Mr. Ashton.
Is that why she fell on the playground?
Yeah. There was a teacher, Mrs. Schneider, in second grade at Beach Street School, who was asked never to return after I had her. So I'm not sure whether it was because I ruined her or she was a drinker, one of those two. But anyhow, so Robert, you were in Forest Lake, not Forest Lake. You were in Sunrise Park with Joanne.
Joanne was, yeah, she was.
Yeah, and so all those people in the middle, in between Merrick and Sunrise Highway, like Gary Hughes.
Gary was in my class. I still see Gary every year.
Yeah, I saw Gary came and watched me play baseball in Vero Beach.
Oh, cool. That's great.
So that was nice. It was good seeing him. It'd been years, 46 years, 47 maybe. I guess I graduated in 74, even though I claimed 75. So you guys are the better guys than 74. So we can't forget that. But it's so weird how an impression that I had of you, Robert, just being a Forest Lake kid, that's, how the schools were different. It's like the Mandalay kids. When I find out that Peggy Sachs went to Mandalay, I thought she went to a different school.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Ed, I knew you went to St. Francis because Gene knows you from there, Gene Preller. And Lee, so tell us a fun story, and then we'll move on to the next question. Tell us a fun story about having a mother and father in the school system.
Well, I'll be honest with you, it really wasn't that much fun. In fact, I couldn't wait to get out of town. And I applied to university when I was in 11th grade, and I skipped my senior year, and I went off to SUNY Albany. And I figured nobody knew who I was, and I could reinvent myself. And I went to my first day of poli-sci, freshman 101, and there were like 400 kids in this lecture center, and the professor's going down the roll, comes to my name and says, "Callan, I know that name. Are you any relation to Al Callan?" And I'm like ready to die. And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, your dad was my math teacher, and I was in 5th grade." I dropped his class. I never went back.
Yeah, I guess we got out in 74. I got, they had summer school August 74. And I guess we got out like whatever day Nixon resigned was graduation day. And I caught a flight to California like 2 days later and started school out in California in September. So I just wanted to get away. So it was good. So what my next question is, and we'll go back to Ed because Ed's been silent thus far. So Ed, what has been your trajectory since it was graduation day, Wantagh High School, whatever day that was? What was your trajectory from that point to where you are now?
Should we start with the actual graduation ceremony?
Well, you sent me a funny picture from graduation. So.
Well, after blowing up the valedictorian and consuming way too much of assorted stuff, the gang I used to hang with just made a party out of everything. So graduation day was pretty nuts. After that, my family, this is a little bit personal, but my family had kind of imploded. So I didn't take the usual go away to college and do all of that. I worked, got out, got an apartment with the rest of the gang, with the guys, and kind of, I don't know, scuffled my way up a little bit. Eventually, I became fairly successful and did the usual get married to a Wantagh High School 75 graduate, Charlene Layden, who you guys probably don't know. She was quite the bookworm back then. But I ran into her on a gig I used to be in a band called Little Sister and the Soul Brothers, and we ran into each other and we were like, we know each other. Yeah. So we eventually got married. We just celebrated 35 years being married. So I worked basically through the Echo went away. I just worked in sales and marketing. I'm about 49 years old or so. We bought a company in Manhattan, a marketing agency, and ran that for about 12 years and retired from that. And I'm done. I'm back to playing music full time, except for the past year. But I was a full time musician for a while, and that's really what I love. And with COVID vaccines so readily available, and the expectation that the world will open back up, we'll go back to gigging regularly. So that'll be fun too. Really looking forward to that. Here's an interesting fun fact. When we came in, the class of 75, in the year 75, was the first class to have Mr. Bogatz as a teacher. Now, my two sons both also graduated Wantagh High School. They each had Mr. Bogatz, and my youngest son had Mr. Bogatz in his final year. So I had him in his first year, and my youngest son had him in Mr. Bogatz's final year. So a little arc of history there.
All right, Fran will come back. No, that's really interesting because I never met Mr. Bogatz until we had a reunion it was at the bar on Wantagh Avenue, where I actually invited Jean to meet me there, and I knew she had been my crush in high school, and I said, I'm gonna be in town. Why don't you come to reunions? And she said, I don't do reunions, but Mr. Bogatz was there, and I said, oh, when did you start? He said 75, and I said, oh, that's why I didn't know who you were. But, Paul O'Brien was on the first episode that we had, and Paul had a similar story in that, high school ended, he didn't know what to do. Different than you, he joined the Navy, but he came back to Wantagh, and he raised two kids. His kids went to school, Wantagh High School, and his granddaughter graduated from Wantagh High School. So
wow,
that's amazing to me. But he was uncertain whether they had any teachers in common. He didn't have an answer to that question. But,
we still live in Wantagh.
You still do?
Yeah.
Wow.
In that little neighborhood behind Maplewood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Brookside.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's Jean's father had an insurance company right next to Maplewood.
Yep.
The Preller Insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's still there, or at least the name is still up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually play baseball with someone who has an insurance company across the street from Maplewood. But he lives here, and he drives back and forth between Ellicott City and Wantagh. He was there. His kids went to Mandalay High School. So, well, that's really good. I love your story. It's great, and the honesty. It's that you married a Wantagh woman. I guess they're good. Kathy, we didn't. It's a good thing we didn't marry.
I think we would have found different lives.
Yeah. So your trajectory, what was?
I left Wantagh. I went to college up in Seneca Falls. My first day, I had a gentleman, and we hooked up, and 2 years later we got married. We've been married 44 years this July. Different jobs, lots of different houses and different addresses. But I'm living up here in Dutchess, and we've been here for almost 30 years. I've worked for the school district. Now I'm working for a hospital network, and yeah, COVID's been a real challenge. But I've seen some of the best of people in this time. I've had some fun myself between scanning people at the front door, COVID testing, and now I'm doing registrations and vaccine sites for people when they come in. So it's been a lot of fun. I have 2 children, both are married, and my son's in the Air Force.
And any grandkids?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever. I have 2 kids, but I married late, so that marriage and my kids are still in their young 20s, so I'll be in my 80s before they even think about it. So
Well, as long as they're there, take care of you.
yeah. I figure my father lived to 95, and his father lived a long life, and his grandfather to 100. So I figured I've got it made. So
Yeah.
all right. So all right, Robert. I'm going out of order.
After high school, I went to Amherst College and up in Massachusetts. And then I went to University of Chicago to law school and also to business school there. And then I moved back to New York City, and I worked for a large law firm for a couple of years. Then I moved to another large law firm doing litigation. And then I moved to, that was mostly defense work. And then I decided to go to the good side and became a plaintiff's lawyer. And for the last 30 years or so, I've done plaintiff's class action litigation. Initially, I was doing securities fraud cases representing investors who got defrauded. And now I do mostly consumer fraud class action work. And more recently, my daughter, who was living in my house during the pandemic, she's 25 now. She's about to go to law school in the fall, but she's doing public interest work. She's fighting the big telecoms with the deployment of 5G and 4G and the cell towers and the health risks of that. So she got me very energized to help her out with legal cases. Now I'm flooded with cases helping people who are electromagnetic sensitive and fighting these Verizon and AT&T when they try to put up 5G towers right outside people's houses, and people are getting all sorts of physical symptoms, and there's radiation risks. So that's been very interesting in the past year to get involved in that. We live in Scarsdale. My wife is now, she worked on Wall Street for many years. Now she's an artist, full-time artist for the past 10 years. So she's got a studio gallery in Mamaroneck, the next town over, and she does abstract oil and acrylic paintings. And she's become very, very successful at that. She's got 3 museum shows, solo museum shows already, and she's got another one coming up next month. So we're having a good time.
Would that be one of her pictures behind you?
That is.
Perfect camera placement. Wow. That's very cool. That's great. So you've enjoyed the legal profession? It's good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I the mother of my children is a lawyer, so I had that life. It wasn't, from my perspective, it wasn't a fun life, but now she's an agent, so she's enjoying that. So
I prefer fishing and boating.
You what?
I prefer fishing and boating.
Oh yeah. You have a boat. I have a boat. We should get our boats together.
That's right.
Yeah, but yours is bigger, I think. So
my son, he's 22. He's a fishing captain down in Miami. He started out at University of Miami at the marine biology program, and quickly decided he'd rather fish than study about fish. And now he Came back from the Bahamas today. Takes people on these crazy fishing trips. He's heading off to Costa Rica tomorrow for a couple of weeks, fishing on a billionaire's boat as a mate. He's going down to Mexico in a couple more weeks for 3 months to fish. So he's having a great time. So it's an interesting life.
Yeah, that's it. It's so weird. I remember the pressure on me when I was a kid, from my parents, to, well, from one parent, make sure you get a good education, get a job, stay at your job for 4 years and stuff like that. And I was in computers, and you just didn't, that wasn't how you found your success. You had to move around. And so I thought I'd gotten rid of those views. And my daughter works for a company now, and she doesn't have to ever go in the office. So she's now in Moab, Utah. She's been skiing all winter, and as all they care about is, as long as you show up at your computer at 6 a.m. her time, skiing in Montana and Colorado and stuff. As long as she shows up for work, they don't care what you do on the weekends or at night. So it's a different life. And she goes, Dad, people don't live the way you did. And it's like, oh my God, my father was with AT&T for 40 years, and I've never been in anywhere more than, well, I'm 10 years at Johns Hopkins University is the longest I've done. So thanks, I appreciate it. So
Hey, can I jump in for a second?
Yeah, please.
I don't know if Robert can see the notes, but my son's also a University of Chicago graduate, and
That's cool.
And when he went there, I want to say 2010, I ended up at Chicago both at the same time for executive education. So it's good to know that other people go to Chicago.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too cold for me. I'm not even sure why I'm in Maryland. I'd rather be someplace. I've lived in all over the world, and it's been nice to be warm. I prefer warmth. So Fran, tell us about your trajectory. It's graduation day from Wantagh. What happened?
I didn't graduate from Wantagh. I graduated from Danbury High School in Connecticut. I moved my senior year.
There's a story.
So
You moved.
Yeah, we moved. My father sold his butcher shop in Jamaica, Queens, and opened up one on Candlewood Lake in Connecticut. So I had to go to school there. And here's this little girl with mini skirt, tight shirt, showing up at preppy Danbury High School. So it was quite the culture shock. But I melded, and I kept going back to Long Island every weekend. Then I graduated and went to Southern Connecticut. Now it's a state university. Then it was a college. I went for 2 years, met my daughter's father. We moved out to Huntington Beach, California. Came back to Connecticut. I had my daughter when I was 23. Then lived a life of traveling and going to school and all kinds of things, but mostly being a single mom. And then, let's see, I moved to Florida in 90. I moved to Naples, Florida. I was a letter carrier, and I freezed my butt off and said, "To hell with this." And packed up everything, sold everything, and moved to Naples, Florida to live on a boat, which was awesome. My daughter went to University of Florida, and she too is an attorney. She works for the National Veterans Legal Services Program, and she helps veterans fight the VA for large class action suits against Agent Orange and whatnot. So I am living with her currently outside of Washington, D.C. and Virginia, and I care for her 2 babies. And that's where I am. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah. What's happening with your signal? On Wi-Fi, there's
Did
a
you hear
problem.
me at all?
Yes,
Did
I
I tell
heard.
that story to nobody?
No, you went in and out and in and out, but it would speed up when you'd come back in. And so I know you lived in Connecticut. I got most of it, and because I saw you at Worlds Collide, I have the picture.
You know the
It's
story. The story. Yeah. Yeah.
The problem with this program that I use, it's different than Zoom. It's very web intensive. The browser that you're using takes the full breadth and depth of it needs 5G, Robert. People need 5G.
You
I
have
don't want to get
5G.
political. I know you do. I don't want to get political here, but I did work for Google and helping them with their early days of testing of 5G. So
fiber optic.
I have a fun story.
I'm sorry.
I have a fun
Fran.
memory of Eddie Hoey. We used to hang out, drink at the log, of course. My girlfriends and I, Kathy Donnelly, Kim Bardo, we were having a seance. And we were a little tipsy. Lord knows what was. And we were trying to bring back Jimi Hendrix. And off in the distance, you hear a Jimi Hendrix song, and it's getting closer and closer. And it's Eddie with his radio on his shoulder walking through the woods. But we were so freaked out. We thought for sure we brought back Jimi Hendrix. Ta-da!
That would be, or Jim Morrison. I'd like Jim Morrison to come back, but
that wasn't the choice that moment.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well,
Eddie and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, I remember of you in elementary school. I wasn't friends with too many people in high school. So I just kind of kept to myself. So, but
I was friends with too many people.
Too many people. Yeah, that's my
That's
problem.
all I cared
now.
about.
Yeah, I hear you. So,
Fran was kind of our den mother. She.
Den mother, huh?
Yeah. Well, amongst other things, but we had a big crew, and Fran was always an integral part of it. I still see those guys.
Wayne Crush.
Yeah. I saw Wayne was here last week. Frank Roach, Jake Poggi. Vinnie Thompson. All these guys. I still see them.
Bobby McBride. You ever see Bobby McBride?
No, never. I think he moved to Vegas 25 years ago.
Yeah. The St. Francis de Chantal graveyard crew.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Eberhard and Dennis Hawks. And,
good people.
I was still in touch. The COVID thing. We ended up creating a group text of about 12 of us, and I mean, you just revert back to being, a 10th grader with the same silly nicknames and the same, ribbing each other. And
even younger, like at Harry's. We were young when we were hanging out at Harry's.
Yeah. And these guys said, nobody had cell phones, so we didn't have many pictures. But the pictures, if everybody had 3, now we all have 20, because we shared them in this group text. And I'm like looking at these pictures going, oh my God,
I'd like to see some of those.
I don't know.
Or maybe not.
Some of them are really hysterical.
I'm
Some
sure.
of them are embarrassing, and of course, some of them are epic.
So I want to say It's now 8:30, but we lost 15 minutes. And if you don't mind hanging around a bit longer, I had a oh, by the way, Fran, there's Karen Dalton is saying she loves watching your granddaughter. So, oh, we just lost Fran. So, I'm not going to change browser. I'm not going to change programs. But anyway, so here's my last question. So, and it's kind of just it for Ed, you're still in Wantagh, but for the rest of you, if you and actually everybody can answer this. You'll have an answer. Um, you know, Ed, I know you go back to Wantagh, obviously, so you're there. I'm gonna let Fran in. All right, Fran's coming back. Okay, so Fran is back, and so in your life, in between when you left or you never left, what about Wantagh influenced your life? Was there a teacher? Was there something seminal that you took with you into your life where you are? Oh, you know what? Wait, we missed Lee. Didn't we miss Lee on the trajectory? Hey, I'm sorry. So,
It's okay. I know we're trying to make up for lost time here.
yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so just something seminal in your life that you've taken from Wantagh with you that really influenced what you did, or that you have a memory of now. And let's start with Robert.
Wantagh, I thought, was a terrific place to grow up. The beach, of course, was the defining characteristic of the town. Certainly, my love of the water, of being on boats, fishing, that all started in Wantagh. We had a boat when I was about 4. It's actually how I met 5, maybe. That's how I met my wife. She came to my boat. I was varnishing it with my father when I was about 5 years old. She was a little baby in a stroller. Turns out my mother and my mother-in-law were very good friends in college. And they came down to the boat that day. And I remember my wife in a pram being wheeled down by the boat when I was varnishing the boat with my father. And that's my first memory of her. But I mean, Wantagh was really a great place to grow up. I mean, at 10 years old, we were hitching on the Wantagh Parkway to go down to the beach. I mean, who would do that these days? It was great. I mean, you had total freedom as a kid to do anything you wanted. And it was very safe, and there were millions of kids around. I mean, everyone moved into the neighborhood at the same time. It was just built where we lived in Holiday Park. So everyone was the same age. You always had kids around. It was just a terrific place to grow up. I live in Scarsdale now, and there's a lot. I mean, I thought Wantagh was a much better, more balanced place to grow up than certainly Scarsdale. And I think people had better outcomes there. I mean, you had a much more diverse group of people living there, and you had a much more broader life experiences just interacting with a more diverse group of people. I thought it was a terrific place, and from what I understand, it's still a pretty good place to live. So I had a very good childhood there. I thought it was great, and I'm really happy I grew up there.
Thank you for answering that. And I can tell that's your dog, because when I take you off mute, you're I don't hear the dog. So Lee, I am sorry that I passed you up. So why don't you intersperse a little bit about your trajectory and what you take with you? Because I think of all the people with your parents being in the system. And, and I do remember this picture of you with your long hair. And, it's that's how I remember you. But,
Well, it actually got longer and shaggier than the picture that you've got showed right now. I left high school at 11th grade. So I actually had a year of college under my belt when I came back to graduate. And by the way, they weren't going to let me graduate because I hadn't fulfilled the requirement of having whatever number of years of phys ed and health and whatever it was that you needed to have to get a diploma. But I guess they relented, and I got one anyway. Can you hear me? The echo just went away. All right, so let's see. So I went off to SUNY Albany. It was an experimental college in the university. They cut the funding for the program after my second year there, so I wound up dropping out of Albany and went to Temple University down in Philadelphia, where a year short of graduation, I took off and spent a year just kind of doing the backpack thing through Europe. I lived on a kibbutz in Israel for a year. I worked on a banana plantation, came back and finished my degree, which was actually in television and film production, and worked in the recording industry for a couple of years after graduation before I wound up also in the tech industry, although I was on the business side and the sales and marketing, not on the techie side of things. So I spent most of my career working for tech companies, computer software, hardware vendors. Spent 14 years working in the telecom industry for France Telecom, and have in the last couple of years taken into working for a software development company. And we're all about open source software and open data, making all data readily available to everybody for any purpose at no cost. So that's kind of what I've been doing from a trajectory perspective. I guess what I take away from Wantagh, primarily, I think I would echo what Bob said. It was the being near the beach, something that I have always felt really comfortable being near. In fact, almost a need to be near the water. And even to this day, I live in Tampa Bay. I live in St. Pete Beach. That's where I am right now. And I just can't imagine ever living someplace where I was going to be landlocked. My parents, they retired, they moved out west, they lived in the desert. It was a lovely place, but I could never see living there. So that's kind of my story.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I don't know whether you'll accept this or not. You do remind me of your dad. How old was your dad when he was principal in 1962?
I'd have to stop and think about it. He was probably in his 40s.
Wow.
He retired when he was 56 years old.
Wow. I know it was a pain in the ass.
Glenn, I got to tell you, I'm very impressed with your trajectory. Okay, because I left Wantagh and I never went back, and I never had anything to do with anybody from high school until the 40th reunion. And let me tell you, finding out what happened to everybody was just amazing. And your story is one of them.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Kathy, what do you take with you?
Wantagh was a great place to grow up. I was heavily into scouting. As Lee might remember, I almost busted his mother's station wagon one time, collecting newspapers for a fundraiser for the troop.
Oh, the
I'll
paper
never forget
drives.
that. Yep, the paper drives, and I'll never forget seeing that thing dragging down my street, loaded to the gills. I thought your father was going to kill me. We got a lot of good moral character, if you want to put it that way, and a lot of experience in Wantagh. I love the beach. I miss it terribly. I'm hoping one day to retire back near water. I don't know where, but near water where I could smell that salt air. When I left Wantagh and went off to college, they were just building the bike path that went down to the beach, which now I've taken 2 trips. I drive from Dutchess down to go on that bike path. At least and I love it. I think it's great now for kids because everybody down Long Island who lives in Wantagh, Seaford, or whatever can ride to the beach. We got so much out of Wantagh. The schools were excellent. The kids, we really didn't do anything that crazy. I mean, we think we did, but we really didn't do anything that crazy. Unfortunately, I did miss 10th and 11th grade in the high school. I moved out to Manorville in Suffolk when my mother remarried. So I missed 2 years, but I was able to come back and finish my senior year and graduate from there. And it was a lot of fun.
And now I understand the mystery. So, because by the time you came back, I was gone.
Yeah.
So I just remembered you from junior high school, and I've been racking myself trying to figure out, where we parted ways.
Well, it seemed like somewhere in ninth grade, which was the last year I was really in the school, it was a very different, you were either music or you were sports or we were, academics and science. And it's not until you get to that 10th, 11th grade, you really find your way to either involve yourself with everybody or you're still very, very into one thing. It's amazing where everybody went, what everybody traveled, what roads we went down. It's great to hear it. I'm glad we're all coming out on the best end of it too. It's nice to see that because it's hard not knowing where some of us went. I don't see, you don't see them at reunions, you don't hear about them. But knowing where everybody else is right now, that's a comforting thing. And that's something Wantagh gave us. We have that connection within this group and seeing each other like this. It's really, really good.
I agree. I agree. And Facebook brought a lot of that. Lee, there's a memory of your dad. Facebook, say what you will about Facebook, and I know many people who worked at Facebook at the beginning. It ended up true to what its purpose was, and you can hate it, but I had the search thing out for whenever Jean Preller came online. And it used to be you could have something set up and it would tell you when somebody came online. And she came online. And so without Facebook, there wouldn't be a Jean. So
Very true. Very true.
So Ed, the guy who stayed in Wantagh. So how would you answer this question?
I don't know. I go to the beach every day. So, not to make everybody jealous, but I go every day. And the thing about Wantagh, I guess, was, well, it's already been mentioned. You could hitchhike to the beach. You could build motorbikes out of lawnmower engines and Schwinn Stingrays and drive them around. You could go surfing. We used to camp out for weekends at the Coast Guard station past Gilgo. It's been demolished since then, but we used to just get dropped off by Wayne Crush's father on Friday at 5 o'clock, and they just come and collect us Sunday afternoon. You were just on your own. No cell phones, no checking in, no worries. And that kind of, that freedom to do that was a wonderful thing. That and all the fact that so many people that I associated with, grew up with, hung out with, I'm still tight with. I still love that. I get to talk to these guys all the time, and it's that connection never broke. So that's a wonderful thing. So that would be my big takeaway. Architecture changes and politics change, and there's more red lights, and it's more congested. But the fact is that we had this shared experience, and it's something we can all relate to. And whenever we end up talking, either in a situation like this or with the group that I spent so much time with, you just pick up where you left off. You know, that's the cool part. You just pick up where you left off. It's like, oh yeah, how long's it been? 35 years. Oh, you want to get a bagel? Let's go. You know, it's just that casual, and that's sort of like a permanent connection. So, you know, that's the thing I'm most grateful for.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do.
And the bagels are the best, by the way. You can't get those anyplace else.
That's right. That's right. We have to FedEx them to Seattle to my son.
It's in the water. It's in the water.
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, Fran, what do you have?
The beach. I've lived near the ocean, and I was a diver when I lived in Florida. I became a scuba diver, went to Australia, done all kinds of dives all over the world. But it was from being on Long Island and raised by the water where I could catch crabs and catch clams and always doing things in the water since I was 4 years old. I always want to live near the ocean. I'm landlocked now, but every opportunity I get, I go back to Long Island. My cousin lives in Lindenhurst, so we go to Gilgo, which reminds me of surfing there, Ed. The water. We were so lucky to grow up near that, hitchhiking and never even worrying about getting killed like today. Never had an incident. We caught a bus down to the beach at night and walk around the boardwalk, and there was so much freedom. It was so nice. It's not like that these days, but for good reasons. So, yeah, the beach. We were lucky to grow. Well, I love when people ask me where I say Wantagh. Wantagh, and they say Montauk. I say no, Wantagh. You know, Jones Beach. They're like, yeah, I know Jones Beach. Well, I lived in Jones Beach. Is what I tell them. Okay.
Best summer job
I don't
was
understand.
working.
But
What were you going to say, Lee?
was working where?
I said it was the best summer job I ever had. I loved going to the beach, and I got paid to do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Everybody, you were either painting the rails, or you worked at the restaurant, or you picked up garbage. So my brother,
I got to teach arts and crafts.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
How neat. How neat.
My father grew up in Freeport and lived on the water, and my grandfather had a waterfront house. So I've never been away from water ever, because even in Wantagh, if I wasn't at Jones Beach, I got to go to my grandfather's and go boating, and always had a boat. And Fran, you said you lived in Huntington. Did you live in California?
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
Yeah. So I hung out at the end of the pier, and now you've seen my house. I'm on the water. So
right.
You know, for the last year,
I got to go to a lot of good concerts in the 70s.
Yeah.
In LA.
But for the last year, I've had this horrible view of the water, you know, because I couldn't go to my office. So I'm joking.
Bummer
about
for you. Bummer for you.
But yeah, it just goes to show you can get tired of anything. So
the Chesapeake is nice, but to me it's kind of dirty.
Oh, come on.
I'd rather go to the ocean.
Lee, I was thinking about you and your parents living in the desert. You know, I've met people who absolutely love the mountains. If any of you knew Debbie Ouchler, she lives in Colorado, and you know, and people say, "Oh, I love the mountains. I love the mountains," and the mountains are just impediments to getting to water. You know, and,
right.
And that's just, you know, my belief. So, but
Glenn, when I got married, I had to make a choice, either golf clubs or skis, because I had to give up my surfboard. I chose the skis. It was as close to surfing as I could get.
Yeah. Yeah, I did skiing too, but it wasn't as much fun. But I was going to tell you one story about my father and Jones Beach, and then we'll end this. Um, so I guess my father was 13, and he and two guys went sailing. They from Freeport to Short Beach, the other side of Jones Beach. You know, you walk across, whatever they call it. You know, where the theater was Short Beach. What I knew as Short Beach, and then they would walk across, and then they'd go swimming. Well, there was a big hurricane coming in, and nobody knew about it because nobody broadcast hurricane warnings in. So let's see, in 1936. So the sailboat that my father had weighed probably a couple of 100 pounds, and they turned it upside down, and the three of them hid out inside of the sailboat as the storm went past. And my poor grandfather, you know, I remember my grandfather talking about it and my father talking about it and how harrowing it was because there were no roads out available to get out to Jones Beach area, you know, because everything was washed out. So my father had to, you know, they had demasted the sailboat, so they had to put the mast back in, and then they sailed back to my grandfather's house. So that he could, you know, so that he showed up. And Lee, I can see your background, your green screen. It's a picture of your house on the wall.
I was trying to talk about water.
Yeah. No, I get it. So I am sorry how this show started. It should have been a smooth beginning. It's been a smooth beginning 3 times in a row. This time it wasn't because I was screwing around early. I had a video of, if Chris was here, it's the game he played in Seaford versus Wantagh in 1975. Well, actually, he must not have played in this because he would have graduated. So anyway, I'm sorry Chris isn't here. I just wanted to let people know that this show is so popular that we're now booked out into July. So we have the class of 63, we have the class of 68, the class of 71 has 4 shows coming up, and we still have 2 more to go, 3 more. This is 4. We have 3 more to go of Wantagh. And next week, we're going to have Donna Napolitano, Howard Bennett, Mindy Kahn, Donald O'Day, Elise Stern, and John Rappaport. So I hope you'll all tune in. I hope I have better luck with this next week. I was trying to be too smart for my own good. There's Carrie Lou is sent a message here. She rode her motorcycle to Jones Beach at 8 a.m. and stayed there all day. Anyway, I truly appreciate you taking time out. I know that you have a choice of many things to do other than doing this. And it's been fantastic seeing you. And if there's a time, not this year, but next year, I'll send out an invite for Worlds Collide. And we can have a couple hundred people show up and we can hang out in the dirty Chesapeake. So anyway, so I'm going to say goodnight to everyone. I appreciate it, and take care. All right?
Good night. Bye, everybody.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Glenn.
Good night,
Great-
everybody.
Great seeing everybody.
Keep in
Bye-bye.
touch, Ed.
Will do, Fran.
Take care, Lane, Ed. You too.
Okay,
Good to
bye.
see you.
Good night. What a pleasure.
Good night. Thank you.